Welcome back to another episode of Talking Tarkov. I'm the EarLegAthlete here with.
Hey Dizzle.
We've got a few topics to cover, so let's get right into it. But before we start, consider subscribing to the channel so you can stay up to date with all of our content. We post every Monday and Thursday with live streams through the week. Be sure to like the video and let us know in the comments your thoughts and opinions on these topics. So, we've been playing Tarkov, specifically PvE, quite some time now.
Yeah.
I think I've put in right about 850 to 900 hours in PvE at this point, and I'm level
Yeah, I'm not sure what
70.
I've done.
You're like level 69. You've probably put in close to the same, if not a few more hours. And you kind of get to a point where I wouldn't say that we haven't finished everything. Like, obviously, we still have tasks that we can do, right? Like, there's some stuff that we just ignored, put off, tasks that we need, like relentless or escort, that you just cannot die for a ridiculous amount of raids. And that's like if you even choose that you want to go do those things, right? So what what do you think what do you do when you've set your goals in Tarkov and then you've met all those goals, you've finished everything that you wanted to do, especially in PvE where the accounts don't wipe? Do you think you just go in and start resetting your account and doing, something different? Do you keep it and just run raids to run raids and finish achievements? Or what do you think the approach is for once you've gotten to the point where you're just done, right?
Yeah. Like me personally, I've definitely fell off like on the amount of Tarkov I've been playing. And number one, it's because I played, close to 8,000 hours of total Tarkov counting PvP
Right.
and PvE. But just even in PvE, I was looking at both of our accounts the other day, and I think you have me beat by almost like 500 raids or so, more than me. Which is just goes to show, you know what I mean? I think you played a lot more than me on the PvE side. But I just I don't know, man. It's one of those things where you don't want to reset your account because you've made so much progress and there still are things to do. But like you said, it's stuff that you kind of, you have to sit down and really try things like escort and stuff like that. So there's no like easy task or just like, casual task to just go do. And
Right. Yeah, that is the
it's
problem.
yeah, it just starts to become you can buy anything and everything you want. Like there's no challenge, and you can set like roadblocks up. Like you can limit yourself on what you can use or what traders you can buy stuff from, but it still doesn't feel the same as having a fresh start. Um,
Yeah, it doesn't have
there's
that weight
always
to it
yeah,
because
there's
it still
always
just doesn't
been
matter.
there's always been the wipe to look forward to in Tarkov PvP, and not having it in PvE definitely makes it harder to continue, like once you've done pretty much everything. But
Yeah,
yeah,
we've
like I don't think there's anything to continue playing for once you're at extreme levels like we are.
Yeah, I mean, outside of achievement hunting, that's literally all I have left. I can go
Yeah.
for relentless, so kill every boss without dying. And obviously, knowing me, I'm gonna try to do it the hardest way possible. So I'm gonna try to do it in one run. Just go in and transition only. That just seems like if I'm gonna do a task like that, especially in PvE, I'm gonna do it the hardest way possible because there's once I finish that, like I really am done. Like there's nothing left for me
Right.
to do in PvE Tarkov. We've finished the BTR task line. Granted, you're on the last task, but you can literally finish that anytime and
Yeah.
just be done.
Yeah.
Um, it is not a hard task at all. It's difficult if you
No.
stick with BTR, but it's still not hard.
Right.
Um, we finished Lightkeeper, so that's all done and over with. Yeah, so I mean, outside of the which I've already done escort, it was really awesome. I did do it transition only. Took me like 6.5 hours. It was cool. It was awesome. But again, it's done. It's over with. And now I just have Relentless to look forward to. And then past that, all I have are achievements to hunt. And a majority of them are done, right? Like the boss hunting ones. There's a few that I could still do. There's a couple things that I could go and clean up, like I could finish the uh hunter task and get the MK18 unlocked, but let's go
Right.
kill Sturm a handful more times. And just like there's things that I could do, sure, but like you said, there's no weight to it. There's no real reason to go do it. It's not like it's gonna give me a level. I'm at level 70. I need like
Right.
2.5 million from where I'm at now to level up. There's no benefit to it, like the unlock of the MK18. That'd be cool, but again. what am I going to use it with? I'm just running raids
Right.
to run raids at this point, so it's irrelevant what I use. And if I do, set roadblocks and say only level 2 traders and under, level 4 armor and under, like if I put self-imposed roadblocks, that's great. And it does add a layer to it and it lets you have fun for a few raids, I'm sure. But the fact that when you die, you just have millions of rubles to just throw at whatever else you want to build and buy and run, and then you just throw some bad ammo in it, and it's just like, oh, okay, well, we'll see what happens. And that heaviness of like that weight of if I die, this fucks me out of these tasks. I got to reset this. I got to
Right.
redo this. I lose this kit and I don't have other kits.
Right.
So it does. It gets kind of monotonous and kind of boring. Like I hate to use that term because Tarkov is rarely ever actually boring.
No.
But
No.
you do run
The
out of
fact that
things to
we've got
do.
this far alone is nuts. You know what I mean? Like the fact that
Right.
we've went to level 70
Yeah.
is like
Pretty
that
crazy.
shows it's not boring, but it's like even Tarkov has a limit on, you know, when your life starts to have no weight, no value because you can just re-up and just rebuy everything you want.
Right.
Like that's kind of it just kills a part of Tarkov that the early game has, which is like you have that rush of finding something you need and trying to get out with it. And it's like that life right there at the end of that raid matters. Like you are trying to survive because you need to
Yeah.
get that thing out. You lose that once you get super high level with no new task. Like you just lose that. Even if you have decent tasks, it's like most of the stuff you're going to get from them you already have access to anyways.
Yeah.
Like it's just there's a lot of replayability in Tarkov, but it does get to a point where you want that feeling of not suffering, but the feeling of
That rush.
everything's
That's a
important.
good way to
Yeah,
put it.
yeah.
Yeah. I
Everything has
remember
a reason.
early wipe, I had found a scope and I had found a gazelle for the mount, but I couldn't find the gazelle top mount. And so for so long, like that was my like I needed to go and raid. I had to find it. 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 Like it was just like little things like that add so much value to it that you don't really realize in the moment. But then you multiply that by 100 times because you're limited on stash space because you don't have just unlimited money to throw at cases and just thick case after thick case and weapon case and all like items like you can just fill your stash up with all these things and have all the space you need. And then being stuck only having certain options for ammo and this, that, and the other. Like early wipe is just fun. It's more fun. It's way more enjoyable. But to kind of segue a little bit, what I did and decided to do because I really don't want to wipe my PVE account. Like you said, like you put a lot of time and effort into this. You don't
Yeah.
want to wipe it and reset. Sure, I keep my achievements, I keep certain accolades that show, whatever. But like there's a lot of stuff in here that I'm proud to have, that I'm like excited to have, and it's like
Right.
it's kind of impressive to have gotten this far and it's kind of a feels good. So why get rid of
Well,
it? Like it
and you
doesn't hurt
lose your
anything.
ability, especially for content creators. You lose your ability if anything new comes in.
To
You can
just
just go
test it.
test it. If
Yeah.
yeah, you lose your ability to do that if you reset your account because you're low level. So I mean, just from that side alone, it's nice to keep an account that's high level because if
True.
something new happens, you get to immediately go test it.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
but the, with PvP, Tarkov has always had a wipe, and everyone's always questions like, are wipes part of the game or are they just temporary until like 1.0 hits? And I'm starting to think like you
They
almost
almost
need the wipe.
yeah,
Yeah,
you do.
you
Yeah.
need the wipe in
They
the
could
Tarkov
expand it,
formula.
they could stretch it
Well,
out so more people
that's
have
what I was
more
going to
time to go
say.
further into it, but yeah, it needs to be there.
Well, and is there like a way they could kind of revamp wipes when they no longer need to do it, for update purposes
Updating
and
and patching
when
and stuff, right?
yeah, is there a way to just implement a wipe but it kind of switches things up, like you
Well,
don't just redo like everything you did before, like the missions get changed, like maybe you do things in different orders. Could they maybe do that to where a wipe actually has a reason besides just restarting for the next update?
right. Yeah, and I think the prestige system is a good way to start on that idea. Because of the things that they implement inside of that, right? Like you're allowed to keep
Right.
certain things, you're allowed to do this, that, and the other, and things like that. But I think, like you just said, it would be really cool to see them add. not like an entire new task line for once that wipe happens or once you've prestiged or whatever. But yeah, change the order of it. Be like, I don't want to be able to use traders this time or no flea
Right.
market this time. Like, and even if they're self-imposed wipes, like you can choose when to wipe your account, right? And if you ever want to or not, that's entirely up to you. But if you do wipe and you do reset your account, here are the list of options of things that you can change and modify the game in this way for yourself in things that affect you and only you and not the rest of the player base. So like, uh
Which they have talked about that. They've said that
yeah,
that is coming in future updates for prestiging. But even like even beyond prestige, it's like with prestige, the economy doesn't get reset. Everybody
right.
else has still got all the best stuff. It's like it still doesn't give you that wipe type
Yeah,
game. You know what I mean? Like
right.
because you're still
Everybody's using bad
you're
shit. Everybody's got bad armor. Everybody's
well and like yeah, and especially when you look at PVE, it's like the economy is so like just dead right now. Like it's
ass
just
backwards, dead, fucked up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, GPUs are going for like 100K at times. Like it's just there's and it's only going to get worse,
Right.
especially with PVE. It's
Yeah,
only going to get
eventually the
worse.
price of
So
everything will plummet.
I'm getting to the point where I believe that just for the Tarkov game mode, the battle royale game mode, or not battle royale, the
The
extraction
extraction.
shooter
Yeah.
game mode to work, you have to have a wipe. Like
I think
it
so.
just seems like it's necessary to just to keep it interesting and to keep
Yeah,
it
to keep things
fresh.
fresh, to keep everybody on an even playing field, to keep everyone, kind of pacing at the same together throughout it all, and
Right.
just to keep things organized. Because once you get so far, like we're dealing with on PVE, there are no limitations. There's nothing holding you back
Yeah.
from anything. You can just go do anything with the best of the best stuff over and over and over again. And it's like it
Yeah, it
does
just
become like a
plays so
what's
different.
yeah, and it turns into this like, what's the point? Why? What are we doing here?
Yeah.
What are we accomplishing? I could come back in 2 weeks and do all this. Like something has to be done for PvP after 1.0. I know they've said that after 1.0 they don't plan on doing wipes, but I don't know if that's going to stay true after getting to see what is happening with PvE. And I think
Well,
PvE is a really good test bed for that too, to see what happens with a persistent server
and last time they commented on that, Nikita had said that their plan was to make it where you have uh
options. Either persistent
wiped.
servers or wiped servers.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have a wiped account and then a non-wiped account.
Yeah,
So you have an
I
account that plays like normal, and then an account that can just keep going. Which that would
another
be
thing
fine. I'd
they
be cool with that.
talked about doing too was adding more players under that one account as well. Like you could have account A with player 1 at prestige 2 level 70 fucking doing all the things, and then account A player 2 was a fresh start that you decided to do hardcore rule set on. Account A player 3 is just a dick around meme account that you just build wacky shit and do silly stuff in. Like
Right.
they had talked about being able to have more than one playable character on your account
In which
instead of
that will be good.
having
I
multiple
will.
accounts, which is already kind of shit. Um,
Yeah. I will enjoy that if they do that. That is good,
I
but
and I
I
haven't heard
still
anything
feel
else
like
about that
that
in a long time though.
that won't take care of the issues like
No,
with
it
the
doesn't solve any
economy and
problems.
yeah. So it's like I'm hoping that they
I
realize that the
I would
formula
imagine,
needs a wipe.
yeah, I would imagine that especially with PVE, it's been out for what about a year now or so, roughly.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe a
somewhere
little
around
bit
there.
longer, maybe a little bit less. I'm not 100% sure, but it's been out for a little while. And they've got to see enough data on it. Those people that are like us or higher than us, even I've seen guys at level 75 and things. So it's like they I'm sure they see it and they see what the economy is doing. They see how the flea market is so mixed up and just crazy. And they see how values plummet. Yeah, like I'd imagine they see all that and they can't ignore it, right?
Right.
Um, but yeah, so anyways, what I was starting to say a while ago, to keep things fresh and to keep things fun, granted, I'm lucky enough to have a second account to do this on, so I didn't have to wipe. But I started a hardcore playthrough. I started a new account on PvE with a hardcore rule set, no scav raids, no trader, no purchasing from traders. I can sell from them and I can buy containers and cases. No insurance, no flea market. No playing with players that aren't on hardcore accounts, or hardcore runs. Like there's a few delete my stash on start, so there's a few things that just make it extremely difficult and just like add so much more value to it. I've always looked at hardcore runs like, oh man, that sounds miserable. Dude, why would you do that to yourself? Like that sounds horrible. That sucks. Like you can't fucking buy guns and food and water or a band-aid. Like you can't do shit. But after
Right.
playing it for, I think I'm only on day 3, but after playing those first 2 days, I have had some of the most fun I've ever had playing Tarkov. And that's comparing to like early wipe PvP raids. Like there's something about knowing every death is the end of that character. When with my stash being deleted, at least until I've stocked up some stuff, even then it just makes you like the gear fear that much more real. It makes you want to go and raid and like acquire a kit instead of trying to take in something to fight everything with. But yeah, like so that's one option is just start another playthrough. You can either a wipe your account, that is always an option, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. Especially in PvE Tarkov, that you can already get through things pretty quickly because there's not that player versus player roadblock. So if you're comfortable with the game and the tasking and you understand all like where things are and how things work and what to do, resetting your account is like no issue whatsoever. Um, and then the other option for that same thing would just be like go buy a second account, right? Which is up to you if that's something you would even consider doing. But have a second account. That way you can keep your primary stuff. You can still go help players, run raids. You can go raid labs as often as you want, or do whatever it is you want to do. Hunt bosses, or just take in grenade launchers and blue flares and try to kill this, that, and the other. So like you don't have to get rid of it, which is nice. But again, you do have to spend money for that second account, so it's understandable not wanting
Right.
to go that route. What do you think would be another way to like spice things up in Tarkov again? I did like the idea of like self-imposed roadblocks, like oh, I can't buy from traders and I can't use the flea market. I'm only allowed to use like up to level 2 trader stuff for now, or like everything I have has to be found in raid. Or do you
Yeah,
think
like
do you think there's ways to keep your main account and still keep it fun and fresh?
well, you can always just like take your main account and just apply a hardcore rule set to it. From that point on, delete your stash, um, limit your ability to buy things. Like you can do that,
Yeah.
and it's still going to be cool. You just lose out on the task. You don't get any of
Yeah.
the original task line. Um, so I mean, I would, if I wasn't, if you didn't get that other account for me, that was probably what I was going to try to do is think of some way to, switch up the difficulty with, my
Without
main
having to
account.
reset, right?
Yeah, because I don't, like I said earlier, I don't want to reset just for the simple fact that, there are use cases where I do need an account that has access to everything. Um, yeah, on the flip side, it's like playing Tarkov has become almost a chore as of late for me. So it's like I need something to, spice things up a little bit. And that was
Yeah.
that was the only thing I could really think of is just applying a rule set where you can't buy from traders. You can only, use what you find in raid. Just something like that, even on a high end account, still would probably be pretty fun.
Yeah, it still adds that layer of grittiness to it, that extra weight that you're looking for to add that
But the
anxiety ridden like
the
mess to it.
problem Yeah, the problem with that is like who wants to delete their stash though? It's like I have so much stuff that I don't want to delete. At that point, it's like you might as well just reset the account because
Yeah. You're
there's so.
deleting
But if
everything, getting rid of all your good shit and all your money and everything you have just to not be able to still do the early task line. And that's a lot of the fun
right,
too, is like those early tasks where you're one.
yeah, it gives you direction. It gives
Yeah,
you goals. Like it gives you something to accomplish. Um, so yeah, it's like it would be fun without that, but I enjoy when I have that. Like that seems to be when I enjoy Tarkov the most is when it's low level, limited gear. Even without the hardcore rule set, just the start of a wipe is enough to like re-energize me, for playing Tarkov.
yeah,
But
absolutely.
adding on that hardcore rule set now, I think is kind of where I'm headed as far as what I want.
It just takes Tarkov and especially early wipe, and multiplies it by so much. It just makes it that much more difficult, that much like heavier, that much more gritty, and
Yeah.
just like your life matters so much more in those situations. So another option is one that I don't consider often, and it may be because I'm still in the lower count of hours, like at 4K. I feel like I still have a ways to go before I'm like burnt. Um, is just go play another game for a while, right?
Right.
There's nothing wrong with being like, dude, I'm fucking done. Like I'm bored. There's nothing for me to do. I need a break. I'm playing this every day, hours at a
Yeah.
time. You know what I mean? It's like go do something else. Like go play fucking Halo, Reach or whatever it is, the one that's really bad. Go play Animal Crossing. Go play fucking Mortal Kombat with your grandparents. Like there's things you can do. No,
That's
in all
been
seriousness though,
me.
there are things
I've
you
been on
can
a
do.
weird kick. This
Yeah,
is
you've
the
been
games
playing
I've
those
been
weird
playing.
like anime sex games and stuff lately.
Well, no, I always play those.
Oh,
Um, but I'm talking like different stuff that I don't normally do. But like over the last 2 months, I have been playing Grand Theft Auto 5, the story, uh, like not the Grand Theft Auto Online, but just the story missions. I've been playing that. I've been playing Black Ops Cold War, just to play
so
prop hunt.
weird. Yeah. It
I've
did
been
prop
playing
on
Days.
Cold War was really, really good though.
It was,
Yeah,
and I don't have the new Black Ops 6, or I would just play it on there, but I didn't buy it.
fair.
Um, and then Daisy, I still throw in every now and then as of late, I've been playing Warzone, and that's like the games that I've turned to just because I've been bored with Tarkov. But even doing that, I still come back to Tarkov. I still play
Yeah,
it,
we were just playing yesterday.
but yeah, yeah, and I still play a good bit, especially with the Labyrinth event. I was playing a lot then.
Right.
I did that whole quest line, did everything that you could do,
Did you
but
like keep your task? You got all your achievements?
yeah, 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 got
Nice.
everything out of it. But it's like even then, it when I come back to Tarkov, I'm still looking for something else. Like it's not even
Yeah.
playing those other games. It's the weird thing with Warzone. It's had the new update, so that's kind of had my attention just because of the Verdansk update. And it's like I find myself waking up wanting to play Warzone now instead of Tarkov, which is that's weird. But deep down inside, I want that feeling from Tarkov. Like I don't want that feeling from Warzone. I want that feeling from
Well,
Tarkov.
and most of the time,
And
Tarkov gives you that feeling. I think we're just in a
yeah, it
weird
does.
place, especially. I know
Well,
I've said especially with PvP like 10 times already, but it is, or PvE. PvE is just so much different. Like, we don't have a wipe to look forward to. We don't have, like, we've already
yeah,
done it. We did the thing. We're done.
I've
Like, our
considered
PvE accounts, at least these specific accounts, they're just done, right? Unless we reset them.
I've considered hopping over to PvP because it's like I have a low level character on there.
Yeah,
I
we could
think
do
I'm
all
like
kinds of
level
shit. Yeah.
23 or something like that. Yeah, so it's like I could just do that, but even then, it's like I'm just I need something new, and that's why I think the hardcore thing is what is so appealing right now, just because it's a new thing. Like you get this limited amount of ways to go about everything, and I'm just ready to try it. I've watched people do it for so many years, Pestily and Deadly Slob. Deadly Slob was like
Yeah.
the OG of
Yeah.
it, and I loved watching those runs. Like it was so fun to watch because everything mattered. You know what I mean? Like every raid was interesting because they're going in, and it's like if they get out with one decent gun and a nice set of armor, it's like that's a win.
That's huge. Yeah.
And yeah, but it's also exciting because they have it on them and they're trying to get out, and it's like it just upped the stakes of everything. And I've always thought I don't really think I would enjoy doing that, but now that I've done everything in Tarkov with PVE, I get it because that's what I really want to do is some hardcore Tarkov.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what new game mode or new way to play Tarkov they introduce with 1.0.
Oh, but yes, me too. I'm so happy
Um,
for that.
yeah, because while just being able to play 1.0 full release Tarkov with, I imagine, a mess of new tasks added, potentially even new like quest lines entirely, just there's going to be plenty of new things to conquer in 1.0 Tarkov. But the way they talk about, this quote unquote new way to play Tarkov, it makes me just like, what could it possibly be that we haven't already seen or haven't already thought of or already talked about? Like what could it potentially or possibly do to make our Tarkov experience different in any like it just blows my mind that they could have come up with something um different entirely, or maybe not even entirely different, right? But like just a new way of going about playing Tarkov. I'm excited to see it. I'm very curious.
Yeah, the way Nikita's talked about it, it definitely has me excited because I feel like if anybody could come up with something, it would be him. Um, and he seems pretty confident in saying that it's going to be, you know, kind of another like hit
Yeah,
with the way it plays.
definitely
So
does.
I have faith in it. But yeah, I'm definitely ready to see it too.
What is it do you think that makes the early wipe Tarkov so much more enjoyable than late wipe Tarkov? Because like in in the average person's mind, you would think, oh, I have access to everything. I got money. I got the guns. I got the ammo. Like nobody can stop me. Wouldn't that be more fun than having to like grind and struggle to get everything? And
Well, that is fun. You know what I mean? For a
it is
limited amount of
right.
time. Yeah, and like I said earlier, that's the reason we're up to level 70 is
Yeah.
because it is fun and we've been doing that. But everybody I think kind of gets it. There's just that early wipe where everyone's limited on armor, limited on ammo, limited on weapons. It's just I think it's always that threat of not being able to not being able to keep everything, knowing that you know everything you do have is only for a limited time because you could lose it. It's that fear of just you never know what's going to happen, and if something does happen, you know you got to start all over, and
Right.
you just can't go and rebuy a kit. You know, it's like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have to earn what you have, and you have to protect it, and that
Exactly.
just adds that layer, that intensity, that excitement
For
that
sure.
you don't get when you can just have anything and everything. And when
Yeah.
everybody's playing the same way, it's like, especially in PvP, it's like when everybody has the same thing going on, the same economy, the same access.
Yeah, we're all
Before
looking for
there's
the
people that
shotguns.
are
We're all trying to find
right.
mounts and ammo and suppressors and grips and
Yeah, it becomes just it just adds, like I said, it's just another layer on top
yeah.
of the actual game mode, you know, which is, you know, go find this and bring it back to me. And like that's not the exciting
Right.
part. The exciting
No.
part is what you can and can't do as far as, you know,
I
item
the
wise. What
yeah. The amount of times that I have found like a box of 855A1 early wipe or a box of 762 BP or 545 BS or like, that real good high tier ammo, or like maybe I found like a good suppressor that I already have a mount for and I got an M4 waiting on it, or maybe even like you go in raid, you find Valde, you find a suppressor, a pistol grip, a box of ammo, like you
yeah.
practically build your gun in raid, and then, you know, you're running out, you're doing the thing, you're being cautious, you're being careful, you're excited because you got this shit. All you got to do is survive, and then you get fucking tapped, right? And it's
Yeah.
just like the amount of times I've been on like so close to just raging or like having a mental breakdown or just being like extremely just like saddened by that, even like the amount of times that I've had so much good shit on me and I was being as careful and doing everything just right and I still died. And it's just like, no, dude, I needed all of that. There was so much stuff. Like that was everything, right? Like I had task items, I had fucking weapon parts, I had ammo, I had a helmet, I had a face mask, I had armor. Like, you know what I mean? Like I killed two PMCs and I had all their shit, like stuff like that. And then you just still die. And it's just like, what? Oh, dude, it's just like that for me is what really adds that extra layer. Cause right now,
It
when I go
is.
in raid, I don't even really loot PMCs. I check their ammo, I grab their nades, weapon parts that I find in containers. If it's not a red ARE or the skeletonized pistol grip or another part that sells for a few 100,000 or more, I don't take it. I don't touch it. I don't loot shit. I'm taking bitcoins, folders, high tier stuff. But other than that, like if you don't have good ammo or some grenades, I'm probably not taking anything off that body. And it's just
Yeah.
it just kind of ruins that excitement
Well,
factor. It
and
becomes
that's
just
I
a
think
chore, like you said earlier. It definitely becomes
yeah.
more of a chore.
And that I think is the answer to the question, like what makes the early Tarkov so fun. It's the limited availability of items.
For
The
sure.
just you can only use what you find. You are using things that, obviously you would not use unless you're forced to, but that's the thing. You are forced to. You have to use what you
Right.
have.
Yeah, you have
There's
to.
just yeah, there's just something about that, and knowing that everybody else is doing it too, and it's just the economy. It's like if you find something that's really, really good, you're going to get paid because it's worth a lot, and like the flea market's not flooded with tons and tons of items, and it just it's it hits different than late game. Like it just always has, and I think it always will. Like I just don't think you can survive in a permanent economy in a game like Tarkov. It just without a reset, it loses so much. And I think we're at that point now, especially in PvE. It's just what else can we do? We're
Right.
at that point.
Yeah. Missing the wipe on PvE, it does, and it's something I think it takes away a lot. It takes away a lot of that like rush to try to get as much done as you possibly can within the wipe cycle. It takes
Yeah,
away a
that's
lot
the
of
other
that
thing.
excitement for when the new wipe patch come in. Like one, you're getting a new update, you're getting a bunch of new stuff, probably new features, new ways to do this, that, and the other, new guns, new whatever. And then also just like you're back on that early wipe shit. So it's something that we've considered and probably thought. I'm sure we've talked about it at some point or another too. But
Yeah.
there's always that looming in the back of your head, like you're
Well,
essentially playing for nothing at this point. Like you're grinding to get to a point to where you can say, yeah, it's enough. I'm done playing Tarkov.
yeah, and sometimes it's fun, and it definitely can be fun still. Like, but it's
Oh
just
yeah, I'm not saying that at all. Yeah, yeah.
it doesn't compare to the start. Like that, you can have fun and you can definitely pass some time. You can, it's still
I
fun going in and fighting bosses, and
Yeah, I still very much
like
enjoy late wipe and the
yeah,
option to be able to do whatever you want. I just wish that it was like on a ticking time scale, like
yeah.
there's only so long to do this
Well,
because that would make me more willing and more it would add more of a want to like really grind it out and try to get further and further and get those achievements done faster and get all these tasks done sooner and like it would
well,
just like it would help.
here's the thing: what, if anything, could BSG do to PVE to have like a wipe or to have some kind of event that is there something you can think of that they could do and you would be okay with?
I think, yeah. And I wish it was this way for PvP as well at the end of a cycle, just to kind of tie it all together and bring it to a close, whatever you want to call it, reset. Um, I would like an in-game event where you have to essentially try to make it to X location to do this X thing. Um, but the idea being that you are trying to beat the cultists from setting off a fucking another nuke or EMP or whatever they're trying to launch. Um, and if you succeed, like you get a cool little like, hey, you did it, but there were still a few of them like here and here, whatever. Like they could find a way to make it, but essentially, kind of like what Matt was talking about, how the world would still reset, whether you succeed or not, but just give you an event to kind of push towards. That way, it's happening, it's coming, and then you get a reason to go in and run your best shit and do all that cool stuff that you wanted to have been holding on to, and like your GLs and all that stuff. Like gives you a reason to push out and go do that stuff. It adds another cool layer to the game of like, oh, the cultist events here where we got to stop them from launching off the nuke. We got to donate, 100 billion rubles and uh a bunch of different items. We got to build this thing or like put this together, or just donate all this to get access to this area. And then we go into that area and you're just fighting like the boss cultists and cultists out the ass. They've like got rogues and raiders on them. Like they could add a kind of like labyrinth, like a location that we transit into once that goal is met to fight and do this whole thing, just so we have something to burn all of our high end shit on and then they reset anyways, like something like that. And I'm sure what I have said is too convoluted or just like doesn't really work, but there's a way to make it work.
Basically, like a reset, like an ending event.
Yeah.
And that's the thing; it would have to be timed. It would have to be like a every so often, every 6 months
once every
this
6 8
happens.
months, something like that. Yeah,
But then also it
even
would
once
have
a
to be
year would be okay. Because like if the cycle of PVE is currently at a year, and we're just now like, what do we do? Like that's reasonable, right? I don't think that's bad, and we grinded it out. That means if people would really get into it and bust it out because they know at the end of that year it's gonna wipe. I
I feel
think
like the
6 months
hard
is
part
reasonable
though.
because 6 months we were already like 65 plus doing all the shit. We're like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. We're at right at a year actually, because I think it was introduced in April 2024, something like that. I'd have to look it up to be sure. But anyways, I how would they make it where PVE and PvP are synced though on an event like that?
it wouldn't have to
Would
be.
be I think the hard part.
Wouldn't have to be necessarily, especially after 1.0.
I mean, yeah,
You
after
could have
1.0,
them
I guess it
separate
wouldn't.
by like a week. You know what I mean? PVE event starts this week. 2 weeks after that, PvP event starts. Or if 1.0, you get a fresh wipe, fresh take on PvP and PvE, which I think they and hope they do. But at the start of 1.0, I would love to just see them say, "We don't really give a shit. We're wiping everything. It's a fresh start. This is full release. You're not keeping beta shit. The fuck out of here. Wipe everything, restart both sides." At that
Yeah,
point, they
yeah,
could
yeah.
have everything synced up to be at 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, a year,
Well, I just meant
whatever.
like for an event. Like I just meant like it would be hard to keep them synced up because like the PvPers might get the event done before the PvEers, or
I don't think that would
one side
matter
might
as
do it
much, right?
faster. Well, I just meant if you were like working to a goal, it's like what if one side gets
Well,
it,
you would
one
just
side.
have
I
to
just
separate
meant
them. You would have to have like PvP guys. You got these are your set of goals. PvE guys, here's your set of goals. You have X amount of time to complete the event. So at the end of 3 weeks, the event ends no matter what. Wipe happens, whether you PVE
right, right,
played or
right,
not. The PVE guys have their 3 weeks to work towards their goals. The PvP guys have their 3 weeks to work towards their goals. It's not necessarily, and they like if PvP finishes a week and a half into it, and PVE's like going on to the last day of week three. I don't think it really hurts anything. You just keep it open and running, kind of like Labyrinth is currently. It's still up and running, even though all the PVE guys probably have the achievements and everything else, and the PvP guys are like just getting task lines finished and just starting to get towards like the Lightkeeper side.
right,
So they just keep it up and running until that time period, and then you cut the event off, you wipe the accounts, and then that's it. So like you'd still be able to go in, fight all the cultists up to week 2, day 7, fighting cultists till the last second, and then it wipes, even though you've already finished the event and everything's happened.
right,
And then at
right.
the end of the wipe, or at the end of that 3 week period, that's when you play like the cutscene, or you drop the lore, or you have that final battle, or whatever, however you want to divulge the information and kind of show the nuke going off or the reset process happening, like whatever.
I
Just
almost feel like everything would work, but I almost feel like BSG would never do that because I I feel like they're the type they wouldn't drop a nuke and then have you go back in. They would like want to redo like all the maps and make them like
right,
buildings knocked down. And
yeah.
Nikita's so crazy about
Each
everything that I
each
just
wipe
feel like
cycle, the map gets more and more
yeah,
deteriorated, and
I feel like he'd be like, nope,
radiation's
we're
more
not
and
doing
more
that unless
infect.
we just redo all the maps.
Well, I mean,
But
they
who
could
knows?
add radiation in now. Like, okay, so at the start of 1.0, no radiation, no issue, right? Like, the event happened, it's cleared out, we're in there, we're fighting. End of that year happens, they do the wipe process, and they will claim just like they're doing it the way I just suggested. So they do the wipe event, everybody finishes, does their thing. Week 3 ends, they launch the nuke. Next day, you load in. There are some doorways or buildings that are like fallen in, and maybe there's holes in the walls from where this happened. There's radiation pools in certain places now. So now you can still traverse the map as usual, but there's certain locations that they could put airdrops in, and this, that, and the other in, and like a new way to have to deal with stuff, so that you would have to have a gas mask. So it just adds another thing
Yeah,
that you are like stressing to find early wipe. And then
well, it's
that cycle
very
goes through,
possible.
and
It's
then
very
the
possible that
radiation
that's going
circle
to
gets
happen.
bigger. But then you run into an issue of, well, it's been 8 wipes, and now the radiation pool's massive, and the whole maps are ruined and corroded little fucking locations. And then they'd have to like go in and like add new spots and shit. I don't know.
Yeah, that's I think. when it just, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, I don't think they would ever go that far, but I think they do have an event, something like that planned, where obviously, they've talked about or they've hinted at the nuke and several, you know, um, big things happening in Tarkov or big things being in the process of happening.
Yeah, yeah,
So, like, I feel like there's something there that's definitely tied into that,
I could see it.
but I don't know. On a little less of, like a game changing side, I just I would like them to put away just to reset progress without, completely resetting your account. Like, I just wish there was something, especially for PvE, because it's like they do have that in PvP. They got, the prestige, so they can, redo. They can't redo the missions, redo everything. Um, I just wish PvE had a equal way of, just starting over,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and I
and,
don't know
and
if they're ever going to do that.
I want to hope and think that they would. It would make sense for them to do it.
Well, they could do it without a reward, like no prestige reward, because I
Yeah,
know Nikita
yeah,
wants to keep the prestige for PvP. He said that he
right.
wants prestige to be PvP only. It's like, you've went through the hardest Tarkov, and
Yeah,
that's your reward.
you earned it. Yeah,
Yeah, that's your reward that and you only can get it from one way. Like, it doesn't just get given out to everybody. You have to play PvP Tarkov. That's the PvP Tarkov reward. Um, but PvE should still get a way to reset your account and,
I mean, you can always just reset
screw
the
all the
account.
rewards.
You could just
You
reset,
can,
but you
you
can only do it
can,
once every
but
3 weeks, also.
right,
So that's
and
also that's not really a big deal. It is for the
right, but
hardcore
that's
accounts, but outside of that, it's
yeah,
not.
yeah, yeah. I just hope they do end up like, and that's the other thing. There's so much stuff possibly changing with 1.0 that they could have all this figured out. They could know
Yeah,
exactly what they're going to do, and all these problems could be completely fixed by then.
yeah. I
So,
don't see them dropping 1.0 and not have a potential plan or fix for the PVE economy and keeping everything kind of cycling together. That just seems like bad business if they were to be like, "Yep, we don't know what we're doing next." Like,
well, I feel
obviously,
like
they're
they
not
could go
going to divulge information to us, but
one of two ways about it. I feel like that it's going to go. It's either going to go, they care enough about it and they have enough players and people buying the game, and PvP's or PvE's been successful enough to where they want it to continue being as popular as it is. They want people to continue playing it, so they're going to, obviously find ways to make it as rewarding as PvP, and they're
right.
going to make, a fix to things like that. Or they could go the second route. Nikita really dislikes PvE. He dislikes people loving it. He wants people to get frustrated with it and the economy just completely die. He wants people to get frustrated and switch back to
Move over to
PvP.
PvP. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I could see
I
one of two ways.
I could see him kind of also looking at PvE as like the introduction to Tarkov and like a good way for new players to start, but like ideally everybody does move to PvP. Yeah. And I feel
Right.
like that's what he
Right.
wants right now anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you can play PvE, but it's going to have some issues and there's going to be some things you can't do. And if you want those, you got to come over to PvP.
Yeah,
I
and
kind
to
of
be
feel like,
fair, if the downside of PvE is you get to the max level and you're just out of shit to do, and other than resetting your account, there's no wipe, there's no nothing, there's no incentive to continue playing. It kind of forces you over to PvP already. And if not, it
yeah,
kind of forces you to reset your account. Like so it's I mean, if that's the downside, I got no real issue with that, but it would be nice to
no.
see ways of keeping it fresh and keeping because the PvE player base is people like you and I who love Tarkov, played thousands of hours of PvP, and then we're like, okay, PvE's here. This is pretty cool. These new features, new methods, just the AI, the way everything plays and works, and kind of how you can pace it yourself. That's pretty cool. This is fun. That is a chunk of the players, right? But I think the majority of
Yeah.
the PvE community is players who probably didn't even really play a lot of PvP or played a little PvP but didn't really get far into it, felt frustrated with it, things like that. I think that a lot of the PvE experience for or a lot of the PvE players are looking for the elongated experience at their pace.
Right.
It's more of like a single player Tarkov situation.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
well,
that's
that's why single player. That's why SPT had so many players and it was so
right,
popular because
right,
there was a want for that in the community, and that is where people were getting it. They were willing to actually take a chance on getting banned and everything just to have it.
yeah,
And
that says a lot.
now, yeah, because there are a lot of players who were turned off by the cheaters, turned off by the extreme like PvP players that would just kill the whole
Yeah,
freaking
super
raid and raid
chads and
everybody in
shit.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, a lot of that turns, especially people who have limited playtime or limited time to play. Like
yeah,
there's so many things you can factor into it that would make a
would put
person
you off from
choose.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, it would make a person choose a PvE scenario over PvP. So,
yeah. A lot
and
of
there's
players don't like
probably
the
a lot
wipe
of new
cycle either.
players. Well, and just the new players. Like there was probably a lot of people who just were never willing to spend money on Tarkov because they knew they would hate the sweats.
Right.
So once PVE came out, it encouraged them, and they're like, I could play it at my own pace. So there's probably a lot of new players that
Yeah,
just never played Tarkov.
I can see
So
that too. Yeah, absolutely.
it just
So
shows by the popularity. Like it's very popular. Like
yeah,
it's
it
a
took off.
extreme player base. Yeah. So I my gut tells me they're gonna keep
Keep
it.
showing love to it and keep
Yeah, they're
building it
gonna
out a
keep
little
it.
bit more.
Uh, yeah, I feel like there's always going to be that extra. Um, there's always going to be extra attention paid to the PvP just because that's the OG, that's the original Tarkov, that's what Tarkov always was. But PvE has now become something that they can't ignore because it's also became so popular.
Yeah,
Um, so it's kind of earned its place in the Tarkov dev plans now.
yeah. It wouldn't make a lot of sense to just 1.0 release and then kind of let PvE fall off and ignore it because you are gonna lose a lot of players that way. Um,
Right.
yeah. We touched on it a little bit ago, but Nikita did an interview not too long ago, and not even like an interview. It was like a couple guys doing a live stream, and he just hopped in and answered a few questions. But the main thing that I want to touch on from that is that at least currently, and according to him, I don't. Again, we don't know exactly what the plan is or anything, but they don't plan to add PVE prestige, right?
Right. Nikita said he does not want it. He wants PV. He wants prestige to be PvP only, a reward for PvP players. He does not want it to just be something that you can earn just in any game mode or anything. It has to be PvP only. Like you can't get it in Arena, you can't get it in PvE. That's Tarkov PvP.
And it makes sense because that is quite an accolade. Even if you just prestige once, like that's impressive. A lot of
Yeah,
players don't even get to
very
Kappa in a wipe cycle, let alone get to Kappa twice or a third time.
right.
So I can understand it. You want something for your elite players and
Yeah,
those
they
guys
deserve
that
it.
really grind it out. Yeah, absolutely, they deserve it.
They
And
deserve it. Yep.
yeah. And you want them to feel rewarded for the time they put in. You don't want them to just be like, "Yep, another wipe cycle of me being, the fastest leveler and getting all these tasks done and doing all this stuff ahead of pace and like just being a really good PvPer and like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't want those guys
Yeah,
to not feel rewarded and appreciated because those
I
guys are
am
awesome.
not okay with the way a lot of people scream anytime PvP gets something and PvE doesn't. Like
It's frustrating.
that is the way it should be because they are different game modes and it does take a different skill and it does take a different type of person. Um,
Yeah,
it's just
absolutely.
it's harder, like straight up. PvP is harder. Like yeah, there are cheaters, there are reasons it's harder, but
Issues and
there's
things,
also just
right?
really good players,
Yeah, I
and those
mean,
really good players are the people who they deserve recognition. And if there's something that BSG gives them for that recognition, that's fine. Let them
yeah,
have that. They
absolutely.
deserve it.
Yeah.
Just because they get it doesn't mean PvP or doesn't mean PvE also has to get every single thing.
Yeah.
Like
And
it's
I mean
already
that's
enough that they've given us this. Like
for a lot of you new players, the current Tarkov situation is pretty casual compared to what it used to be. And I just really want to stress that the amount of handholding they do now is way more than I ever expected to see in
yeah,
Tarkov. It's still not a lot, but the fact that people are expecting things from BSG, like, oh, we deserve this, we deserve. No, the fuck you don't. That's just all there is to it. No, you don't.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, like there Tarkov is not meant to be the game that you have everything and do everything, and you have to earn that shit. And you don't just get to say,
Yeah.
"Oh, I played the game, I deserve that too." That's not how it works. And we're not trying to be assholes about it, but that's just what
No,
Tarkov
but
always
that's
has
just
been, and that's what Tarkov
yeah,
always should be. And I hope we never see a day where it becomes so everything just handed to you on a platter. Like you can do it.
yeah.
You just gotta do it. You know, you got this. Like that's not. It kicks your ass over and over again, and you either learn or you don't. Like there's, and that's what Tarkov needs to stay as. So it's like don't expect BSG to just start giving us everything, and don't expect them to go out of their way to make your play experience more comfortable. The one
Well,
thing
yeah,
that
and
I
that's
say is okay to complain about and request and want to see fixed is the cheating issue, and I can't
yeah,
speak on that currently. But last I saw, like it's bad. It's still an issue, but it's not. It's not as bad as it used to be. You know, I feel like
yeah.
it's cleaner than it ever was.
Yeah, I feel like they've definitely it's definitely going better than it used to. It's always bad, having any cheaters is bad, but I do feel like it's in a better place. But I honestly haven't played in
No, that's
months,
just
so
based
I
off
I
what I've
can't.
seen on the internet
Yeah,
lately.
yeah. Um, and just to the BSG caving on things, there are a few things that I feel like, and I know you know what I'm talking about. It's with the bosses, the cultist. There's just been a few things where it's like either there's a bug and for whatever reason they're easier now. You can hear their
Yeah,
footsteps.
I
Either
got
it's
a
a
rant.
bug or they've turned the difficulty down on a few things. And I
If
get it. Cultists were extremely difficult. Like they were extremely difficult. But it also made it why it was so rewarding. Like
yeah,
just encountering them and fighting them was fun, even if I died. So
every time.
I don't need them to be just like another raider. And that's what they feel like right now. They
Yeah,
feel like a raider. And that's not what
not at
they
all what it
used to
should
be.
be.
Yeah, so I'm hoping it's a bug. I don't know, man.
If
It's not in
BSG
BSG's
went,
normal. Yeah, well, it's not normal for them to just tweak something to make it easier. Like usually
no,
they just say no. So I'm hoping that something somewhere just got bugged.
if you don't want to deal with cultists, even as easy as they are now, if you don't want to deal with them, don't fucking run night raids. And that's how it always has been. That's how it always should be. If BSG went,
Yeah,
I'm gonna kind of sound like I'm ranting here. If BSG went and lowered the cultist difficulty and made it so they're wearing lighter colored pants like they fucking do and stand out like a sore thumb, and made it so they fucking slap their feet everywhere they go, and they don't fucking shoot you right away, and they don't fucking run up and try to stab you constantly. If they tweak them to the point that they ruined what the cultist is meant to be, that fucking sucks. And I
yeah,
dislike that in every regard. I know
yeah,
I'm the guy that's always like, make Tarkov harder. But in this one instance, I don't see how anybody could disagree. Cultists are supposed to be the hardest difficulty boss in the game, in my opinion. They are meant to be
yeah,
terrifying. They are meant to be unheard, unseen until you're right in their fucking den and you're in a
yeah,
mess of trouble. That is what cultists are and what they're supposed to be. I don't want to fucking hear them. I don't want to fucking see them until it's too late. I want to have to struggle and be scared and fucking fight my way out of there rather than be like, oh, there's cultists 200 yards away and start shooting at them and throwing nades and making moves on them before they even know I'm there. Like that's not how the
right.
cultist fight should ever fucking go.
No,
That's
no,
sorry. I've been fighting
no,
cultists a
no,
lot
no, no.
lately,
I
and
get
it's
it.
fucking bullshit that they are
I get
so
it.
obnoxiously dumb now. They will literally
I've had,
run up to you, not shoot you, not stab you, turn around and run the fuck away.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
dumb,
yeah.
dude.
I've
They'll
seen that
wait
happen
to
so many
shoot you for
times.
so long until you're like, it's frustrating.
Yeah, I don't get it. That's why part of me thinks like it has to be a bug because it's like, why would
Has
they
to be.
make it where they're like that? Because I have so many memorable fights, dude, of just terrifying like encounters with
Yeah,
them, like
yeah,
terrifying. And
absolutely.
yeah, I expect to lose most of those fights, but that's the point. That's the reason they only spawn in certain areas. They only spawn at certain times. Because if you want to avoid them, you can. You never have to see
Easily.
them.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to take that risk and go into one of their areas at their time, then you should at least be rewarded by, having a super scary, crazy encounter like it
Yeah.
used to be.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be the way it is right
Dude,
now.
some of my favorite experience or some of my favorite experiences I've had with cultists were raids that the cultists might not even been in the raid. And also
Right.
dying to the cultists, because there's been times you and I walking through Shoreline late as fuck at night at like 2 a.m. in game, like 4 a.m. our time. You know what I mean? Like actually, like just
Yeah.
chilling late at night, lights are dark, and we're like creeping through. We're slow walking, and we're just listening, and like you'll hear like little subtle things, like a bush rattle or something move, or like just like a little sound, and you're like, is that them? Is that what the fuck? And you just pause, and you're like looking for cover, and you just post it up somewhere, and you're just waiting, and then it's like, okay, I don't hear anything, I don't see anything, I can't tell if they're there or not. And you keep pushing a little bit, and it's like you get through that zone that they're supposedly in, and then it's like this weight of just like relief comes over you, like, okay, whew, we're safe, we're good, they're not here.
Right.
Or the other situation happens is you're doing that same movement, you're pushing through real slow, you're creeping, and all of a sudden you're just dead. You just silent shot from a bush comes out, and you're gone, Or
Or
there's been
you're
times,
stabbed.
yeah, yeah. I was gonna say, there's times like at resort we would walk up, and as soon as we get up to that fence line, I've been mowed down instantly, and it's just like, what the fuck just happened? Like, how did I die? And it's like, oh, there's a cultist in that bush right there, like that I just could not see, could not hear, nothing, no indication that he was there in any way, shape, or form. Like that is what made them so much fun and so enjoyable to push after. Like it was hard as hell, yeah, but it was hard in the best way possible. It was,
Well,
I miss it.
and anybody who like I was already playing Tarkov before cultists were even in Tarkov. So I remember when they introduced cultist, and if anybody doesn't know what that was like, do yourself a favor, go back and watch some video. I'm sure there's plenty of stuff out there of when they first introduced cultist, and watch some people's like first encounters. That is what I want cultist to be, because it's way different than what it is now. It
Yeah.
used to be so much better. Um, and me personally, my first encounter with cultists was on woods. I'm just walking around, no idea. I'm a pretty new Tarkov player, at least, like fairly new. So I'm just walking around, at night, trying to sneak around and get my stuff done. And all of a sudden, I stop and I can't go forward anymore. And I'm like, what is going on? Like my game's bugged. Well, no, it wasn't. What
He was
happened was I
like,
bumped into a cultist. There was a cultist laying in front of a tree, and I'm trying to like step on him. He jumps up, stabs me, takes off running. I take off running, freaking out. Didn't know what happened. I know I'm dying now. I got this poisoning now. Then I'm like trying to heal, trying to look around. I'm hearing stuff all around me now. There's gunshots, silent shots coming at me. Like it was terrifying, and I died. But you know what? I loved it, and I never forgot that moment. That was one of my favorite moments in Tarkov. Like, and then I had another moment similar. I'm in resort. This is PvP. This is when they were first introduced. I see like a few dead bodies laying around. It's dark. I don't have night vision. I'm running in just trying to do something. I can't remember. I think I was going to Sanitar's room trying to do something there. I get in there. Everything's fine. I shut the door while I'm in there doing my thing. Open the door to walk out, and I just see this blur like out of the right side coming down the hall, and it's a cultist, and he just stabs me, and then he just takes off running, and I'm sitting there like trying to get my gun out and shoot him, and I do kill him, but once again I'm stabbed, I'm poisoned, I don't have the antidote. I did have ETGs and Propital, so I'm just sitting there popping ETGs and Propitals over and over and over trying to run to extract. It was just, I hear that there's other gunshots, so as I'm leaving resort, there's more cultists like coming after me, and I'm just running out there trying to get to extract. I do survive, but once again, that was one of the scariest encounters I've ever had. I loved it. And you just don't get that anymore. At least you don't get that level of it. Like you
right,
get
yeah, you don't.
okay encounters, but yeah, it's not like that. Like those were insanely scary. Like I was freaking out, like in real life. Like, whoa. Yeah, I don't know why they don't act like that now. I'm
Yeah,
hoping and
it's
praying it's a bug.
yeah, that's kind of my thought is with all the AI changes, all the different things. And I feel like it's one of those situations that not a lot of players are commenting on or seeing or dealing with, because not a lot of players hunt cultists. Not a
No,
lot of
no,
players are
most people
actively out
never
there
fight
looking for that
cultists.
fight. They're
Yeah.
for whatever reason they just don't. And I get it. But I don't I hope it's not a feature. I would imagine that with just all the reworks and AI changes and this, that, and the other, that something's gotten mixed up, and they're just you're hearing their footsteps. But there's also the other issue of the way they act, which is kind of goofy, and then the
Yeah.
clothing. It's like they
Yeah.
just bring back the old difficulty cultist. If it's a bug, please fix it. If it's not, please fix it. Just,
Well, and with all the AI changes and 1.0 approaching and Unity 2022, like it very easily could have just got, like put up on the shelf for now. Like, oh, we'll leave that the
right.
way it is. We'll get to it
We'll
later.
fix it. Yeah.
So hopefully, I'm praying and hoping that 1.0 there's a major overhaul to things like, or even before 1.0, but at least by 1.0, I'm hoping there's some kind of overhaul to, any kind of AI that's not acting the way it should be, which I believe
Yeah.
that they're doing that right now. That's the kind of
Right.
things they've been fixing is all that kind of stuff. So I do think that if it's not intended, I feel like it'll get fixed.
Yeah. And I'd imagine that they don't want the cultists to be such an easy fight. I really
Yeah,
hope
I hope it's not intended.
that's not the
I
case.
don't
And
think it is.
even on
Yeah, I don't
PvP,
think it
like
is.
when it was time to go hunt cultists, like I mean, you were it was just different. It's just so much different.
Yeah, yeah,
You went in it different. Like when I hunt cultists now, I sprint to where I think they're gonna be, and then I just like actively walk around and look for them because I don't fear the idea of them rushing and stabbing me or shooting me or anything like that.
no,
Like you said, it's just a lot of it has been lost, it seems, and I hope it's
yeah. It feels like you're fighting a raider. It really does. It feels
yeah,
like you're fighting a raider, and like a couple raiders and like a boss. It's like a
yeah.
boss with a couple guards. Um,
It's like the
so yeah,
Rashala
just
fight essentially.
yeah,
Rashala
really it is,
Raiders. Yeah,
and
it's
it
kind of silly.
almost feels like they put this same like because they didn't used to have different kinds of cultists. It was all one kind of cultist,
Right, the
and then when they
sectant.
add
Yeah,
in, yeah, they add
Zarek
in
and
the
the three
priest
bosses,
and
and yeah,
yeah, and then they add the priest and the regular. It's like it almost is like they just put the same AI model onto them as they would like Gluhar and his people, or
good possibility.
Rashala and his people, because
Because
that's
I
what they
have
play like. They
noticed,
play
yeah,
like that.
Zarek still kind of hangs back in the shadows. Like you typically run into him last, and he's usually hood up, black pants, black cultist jacket. Obviously, like he's a little more difficult to spot. Where several of like it's just weird to be able to spot
Well,
him so easily now too.
and I take that back. There was always a priest, but it was like
Right.
they were all the
It wasn't
same. They
Zarek. Yeah,
weren't.
they were all sectant. Yeah, and then
Yeah,
priest. They
yeah,
all had the same
yeah.
AI. They all acted the same. There was just one that
But
was had a different name. Yeah.
anyways, this has all been just to say that BSG normally never caters to uh, difficulty or people having trouble with things.
Yeah.
Um, Tarkov's the kind of game that there are things that certain players are just not going to be able to do, and that's kind of been the appeal. Is it's not only the appeal, but it's also the challenge of going into Tarkov and
Yeah.
wanting to be one of those people that can do that thing. You
Testing
know,
yourself, seeing if you got that dog in
yeah,
you or not.
yeah, yeah. And the reality is some people just can't.
Yeah.
And that's been me in certain situations. There's some things on PvP I just couldn't do, never
Hey,
would do.
dude, there's
Like
a
I
reason
would
we
die
don't
every
run
time.
and gun like the super chads, right? Like we prefer
Yeah,
to play
yeah.
slower, and that's because we're not out there, full auto winning every gunfight, corner jiggle peeking and this, that, and the, like we don't do that. You know, there's just limitations to our gameplay and what we're capable, or not even necessarily capable, but what we do. I'm sure if we put the
right.
effort in to learn it, like that's a different story.
Well, and yeah, that's the other thing. It's more of a play style because
Right.
you can go in and just take every fight, and you're going to win a lot, you're going to lose a lot, and that's how most chads are. Is they do
Yeah.
win a lot of fights,
Win
but they
some,
also
lose some.
lose a lot of fights.
Yep.
And now there's like aliens out there with their they never die. Their survival rate's like 75 and their
Right.
KD's like 15, and that's in PvP mode.
Yeah.
Like there
Yeah.
are people that are like that. But
We did it once.
if you yeah, there were times that's what we focused on and we were able to do it. But I enjoy playing Tarkov in the way that we play it now, like
Yeah. Yeah. I like the
playing
slower,
slow and
methodical
careful, and
approach.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's just the way I like the game.
I like treating
I
it
enjoy
like
that.
that one life has more value to it. Like
Yeah,
I can't
yeah,
just throw it away and reset, even though obviously we can and we do. But I
yeah,
still
because
prefer to
most
take the Daisy approach to it. Just
right, most big PvPers they treat it as if okay, I can lose this life and just respawn. You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
that's fine. A lot of people love playing that way, but that's just not the way we've ever really like. That's not the way we've wanted our Tarkov, to play like. We could play that way. We have played that way. It's just not what we prefer to do. but we understand why people do, and that's the beauty of Tarkov is there are several ways to play it. But the one
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
that's always remained true is the difficulty doesn't change. Like just because you
Sure.
want to play this way, it's still going to be difficult.
Oh
You're
yeah.
still going to have things that you can't do, and hopefully they never give in on anything, and they have a good track record of not.
Well,
So
and
that's
it's
why
not even
I lean more
necessarily
to the
that they
AI being bugged.
right. Yeah, and it's not even necessarily that they don't cave on certain things. It's making sure that they don't cave on everything. It's making sure that like there's obviously certain bugs or features that happen that either make it easier for whatever reason, like vaulting, that made the game easier in some regards. You're able to climb up on this, that, and the other and kind of work yourself around and get good position. Like that
Yeah,
was a
yeah, that's
good
a good
add that
quality of life
lowered a
change.
little
Yeah.
bit of difficulty, but still keeps the main difficulty of the game there. Like there's obviously going to be because I don't want you guys to think that we're just being like, oh, Tarkov hard every time, always. But like it's not supposed to be super easy either. It's quality of life changes that
Well,
make the gameplay loop more satisfying and a little easier
yeah,
don't change
yeah,
the core
things that make
difficulty
sense.
mechanics. Yeah, exactly. When we say we want the difficulty spike to stay there and just the overall difficulty to stay the same, we just mean when it comes to the fighting and the survival and the completing of like these things are not meant to be easy in any way, shape, or
Right.
form. So we don't want to see them handhold us or handhold anyone into making it easier for them to
We're
survive and kill and
all for improvements of gameplay and quality of life things. Like that's fine. Like you want a playable game, but when it comes
yeah,
to like,
boss
AI
fights,
and
AI, yeah.
yeah, task things like
Even
that, it's like
raiders. I remember
yeah,
when
yeah.
raiders used to be just fucking spot on. Like you couldn't if you
Well,
peeked and you held that corner too long, you were dead. Now it seems like you can
they've
kind of
definitely yeah, they've definitely adjusted it where the AI is not near as
cracked.
they're not near as aimbotty as they used to be.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Cracked
yeah,
or aimbots like
yeah.
and that's fair, but you also got to look at it this way. A lot of stuff we ourselves have just gotten better at the game. Like we know how to
That's
handle the
probably
situations
true.
better.
Yeah,
We know
that's
when to peak better. Yeah,
right.
like we use better stuff now. So it's like a lot of that I think is also just knowledge.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair.
But they've
Yeah,
definitely tweaked it too. Like it's both. It goes both ways. They've
it
definitely
does.
tweaked
Yeah.
to where they're not as they don't one tap you as much.
But yeah, Tarkov could be a much harder, way more difficult game than it already is, and it's definitely gone in a direction that makes it easier for the mass majority to play, which is obviously what you want. You want, like you said, you want a
Yeah,
playable
yeah,
game, and you want something that can reach as many players as possible because they're a game studio and that's their job.
right.
But at the same time, you also don't want it so easy that it's too easy. So
Yeah,
finding
there's
that balance is,
limitations.
yeah, it's going
You
to
want it
be.
to be inviting enough for anyone to play it, but still difficult enough where only certain people are going to be able to do certain things. Like that's kind of what Tarkov always has been, at least to me.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, that's fair.
Because you can get in and mess around, run your scav, be stupid, team up with someone, and just have fun. Or you can go in as a serious person and, try your hardest to get as much done in that one life as you can.
Yeah, well said. Yeah. Okay, so outside of that, I feel like we've touched on that a good bit.
Yeah.
The one last thing that I know I want to cover today, I don't know if you have anything else you want to add, but the EFT Arena is getting its battle pass,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and
that's right.
there's some
Forgot.
cool information. Yeah, I didn't want to leave that out.
Yeah.
There's a couple cool things about that, and that is that one, it is going to be free. The Escape from Tarkov
Yeah.
Arena Battle Pass will be free to arena players. So with
Which is
that,
wild.
yeah, insane, right? Not at all what I expected, especially when they went to Epic Game
No.
Stores. I was thinking like, oh, they just found a way to really monetize.
Well, like I
But
said when we talked about it, that's what battle passes are for. When when,
yeah,
when companies put battle passes in, it's to make money. You know what I mean?
it
Like
is.
that was the
Yeah,
whole concept.
and I would imagine they're going to have a paid access portion of it too, or is it going to be 100% free?
He said it was 100% free.
Okay, that's awesome. That is awesome. Hey,
Now
Nikita, hats off
there
to you, dude. That
wait a
is
minute.
BSG.
There
Well done.
still could be
Paid portions to it, access to better features, an additional battle pass with more tiers that you pay for, stuff like that.
I I don't know because the way he worded it sounded an awful lot like there's no I'm trying to think of how they could do it where they could still make some money but the way he worded it, it just sounded like there's no money
I
like
think yeah, I
involved in the battle
think
pass.
relying on game sales and then, the few things you can buy outside of that too, like your stash space for PvP or for EFT. There are clothing options you can buy, uh, game accounts and things
That's
like that. I
probably
think
it.
that's their main driving force. And then we also
Here
know
would be
that
my guess. Just real quick, my guess, on just making everything free would be that the battle passes are probably going to be limited for like a month at a time or something like that, time limited at some point.
right, I can see
And
it.
then maybe the way they would make money is whatever you don't earn, or if you don't play enough that time, whatever you don't get will probably be available to purchase like later on. So
That'd
that's
be cool.
probably like
Yeah,
the way to make money off of it is make it where people who play the game, reward them, they can get everything. But if you didn't earn it or you didn't play enough,
you
you
can
can
throw
just
some
go to
cash
the
at it.
website and buy
Yeah.
it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because there are going to be outfits and stuff like that
Oh, you
that
know what?
you can unlock
Yeah, I just thought of that. That's probably what they're going to do. They're probably going to make you can pay to just like
on the
go through the
website and
battle
own the
pass.
outfits
Yeah, well, you probably just like buy unlock tokens or whatever to where you want
you
to pay
don't
20
have to
bucks.
grind it
Okay,
out. Yeah,
yeah, you get all the battle pass stuff. Now if you don't want to do that, it's still 100% free.
still
Like you
free.
still
You
get
can bust it out.
everything. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not like Call of Duty where you have to pay 1100 COD points to
for
purchase
the
the battle
base.
pass,
Yeah,
and even then you're still not getting the high end stuff because the high end stuff is the black cell. And
yeah.
if you just do the free battle pass, you're only getting like the new guns and a few stickers. But the way Nikita worded it, you get every reward in the battle pass for free. So we'll see. It comes out on the 7th
Yeah. So
this
we've
month.
got just a couple days. Actually, about the same time this is releasing, you guys will be listening to it and playing EFT Arena on the free battle
Yeah,
pass. So
yeah.
that's cool. Yeah. So I mean, you're gonna. I'd expect to see probably what would make sense for unlocks to be other than like clothing items. Do you think they're gonna introduce weapon skins with the battle pass because they are
They are.
coming?
Well, from what Nikita has said, and he hasn't said a lot about it, but from what he said is gun skins are going to be arena only, and then eventually come to
Eventually,
turbo.
Pia.
So
Yeah.
there's a chance that yes, they are like arena only skins for now, and later on you'll be able to transfer them over to the real game. So yeah,
Well,
those could be in the
knowing
battle pass
that,
too.
yeah, absolutely. It's probably going to be in the battle pass. Then I would expect to see those in the battle pass.
Yeah, because
It would
they're
make
not only
sense.
are they launching the battle pass, they're also launching it on Epic Games.
Yeah,
So it's like they're going to have some new stuff,
yeah,
some
some
reason
exciting
to bring
shit.
people over.
Right.
Yeah, and you know how Nikita does it. There's probably a few things he just hasn't said it to anybody. So
Yeah, they like their
might even
secrets.
be,
They like
yeah,
to
might be
surprise
just
people.
stuff we have no clue about. It could be something
Weapon
none of us
charms,
even guessed.
fucking
Yeah,
yeah, anything. It could be
new weapons,
goddamn
even like it could be anything.
dildos. Like shit,
Well,
it's
I mean,
endless. Yeah.
yeah,
But
I
think
want
about
a
it,
loot
dude.
box, but
Exactly a loot box full of fucking dongs that you can
yeah,
attach to your
you
gun
give
and
that to
shit. Like
me.
new melee, big fat
That's
dong.
right. Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
who wouldn't want to kill somebody with a big
Uh,
dong, right?
I mean, yeah, go to streets and
Just
like
slap
die
people with
to a
dicks.
baton, but come back to yeah.
Kalante, yeah, you know
Kalante,
what?
yeah,
His
he's like,
baton does jam because it's a dong, and it's
that's
going in
right.
my somewhere.
Well,
Something. It's
you have a
jamming
way to
something
fight
up.
back now. You can jam him with one of
Oh
those.
yeah, we
Just
could just jam each other with dongs.
yeah,
That's true.
that's the exciting gameplay I've
And
been
if you
waiting
go
for.
in with a 5 man and go to Kalante, like you're dealing with a lot of dong jamming,
Oh, dude, that's dongalicious.
almost endless dong jamming.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, no. So like, you're absolutely right though. They could add just about anything, and I'd like to say I'd be surprised to see it, but it's like almost not because you don't know what they're doing, but you expect everything almost. Like you expect them to just like left field the most wild shit that I never would have thought of. So you start kind of thinking like, what could it even be? Like, are they going to introduce
yeah,
like uh tattoos? Are they going to like what is it?
yeah. I could see that,
You know,
and they're
and that's the
good
thing.
at they're good at doing things you don't expect. So
Yeah, I mean, you might be looking at a hoodie uh in the battle pass, and once you unlock that hoodie, it like you're able to change the collar of it. You're able to add little details to it, like you could put a BSG logo or an EFT logo, or your PMC level. You know what I mean? Like I could see him just like
Yeah.
adding little ways to just continuously increase things. But that's the thing. It's just like you never know what to expect. So you start thinking of
Yep.
anything that it could be. And then you end up with like some really far fetched ideas, sure, but at the same time, like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just so hard to tell what they could actually do because
Well,
it
the good
really
thing
is
is
pretty. It's
we'll
kind
know
of
in a couple
limited.
days.
That's true, but this kind of limited, right? Like you want to keep, at least you would think they want to keep it within like clothing, weapon, or
Yeah.
kit. Are they going to let
Yeah. They're
us
not going to go crazy.
customize our helmets? Are they going to like give us patches? You know what I mean? Like I could see we get our armbands now. Are we going to get helmet patches? Are they going to add
I
cat
mean, it's
ears?
possible. It's possible.
Anything's possible. But no, it's fun to speculate sometimes. But at the same time, it's also just fun to wait and just see what they do because 9 times out of
Well,
10, it's like, oh, I didn't expect that. I never would have thought of that.
a lot of it, I think, is experimental, and that's why it's starting with Arena. Is they can experiment with items, what people are okay with, what people don't want, and whatever people aren't necessarily happy with, make it Arena only, where you can't transfer it over. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
you keep normal Tarkov separate from anything that people aren't okay with, and it's a way to test everything.
yeah. I think that kind of sums up everything I wanted to cover today. Is there anything else?
Yeah, no, no. It was honestly a pretty slow week in terms of Tarkov news, just because the past couple weeks have been like so insane,
Loaded.
where we had
Yeah.
update after update, and just new feature after new feature. All the Tarkov community, all that stuff was
Community
just like,
digest. Yeah.
yeah,
Lots of
everything was like one
introductions.
after another. So it's kind of been nice to have just a mellow, chill week. But even that is still a busy week because, like you said, you get all this stuff dropping for Arena soon.
Yep.
Um, all the stuff with Tarkov community that never stops. There's always people on there still suggesting
Yeah.
things, and BSG
Things.
still responding with things. Like none of it's ever really slow when it comes to BSG nowadays. They are like working their asses off for 1.0, and um, just this week there wasn't anything major. Like we'll have probably something crazy, I would imagine, within the next couple weeks again, because that just seems to be the speed they're going with everything nowadays. So
Yeah, yeah, it definitely does. And I mean, they did actually there was another post after the update. They showed a short video on the I think it's the rework for suppressors maybe or just a sound update. I'm not 100% sure. Again, it was just a short vid. What they did was show had went outdoors in the wild, right? And to an outdoor range, they had microphones set up in a circular pattern around the shooter. They had a microphone taped to the shooter's shooting hand or trigger finger, essentially, so they can hear the trigger pulls. They had a microphone at the ejection port. They had a microphone somewhere else. They had a handful of microphones set up around the gun, the shooter, and then also in a parameter perimeter around the shooter as well. And then they had him firing with different guns and things. So
right,
and then they went on to show the suppressor sound. There's the gun sounds with suppressor at X range, like 10 meters, 20 meters, 50 meters. And they might have went past that. I'm not sure. But essentially, what I gathered from that is we are getting a rework to suppressor sounds, potentially even how the suppressors work because they did want to add durability, right?
yeah, yeah. They've said that's coming for a while.
Yeah, and then maybe just like another sound update, just just audio stuff, tweaking the engine, things like that. So, but that
Well,
was
yeah, and
the only quote unquote
technically,
news we had, right?
right now we have a new engine, so I imagine there's further work that they've been doing with it, trying
Yeah,
to optimize it. Because we've went from original audio to Steam audio
yeah,
to, we just had so many audios, and now I think they're kind of baking their own kind of audio. So maybe an update to that is coming soon.
yeah. And where we are
Um,
with audio now is so good. Like, sure, there's little issues that they're still tweaking and fixing, but overall, just fidelity
yeah,
and
it sounds good.
quality and just yeah, oh, it's so good.
I did
Me
have
and
a couple things.
Stream were sitting there the other night, just listening on customs while I was hunting cultist, just listening to all the ambient sounds and like how things fade in and out. And like as you're walking down near the water, you're hearing bullfrogs. You still hear crickets off in
Yeah,
the
it's
distance, but you're hearing bullfrogs more prevalent. And as you push away from that, the bullfrogs kind of fade out and the crickets fade in. And then sometimes it just goes silent. But even that silence
yeah,
feels like actual, just like real life sound. Like when you're in the wild, sitting in the woods or wherever, it's never truly silent. And they just did it's not just like sound blank, right? It's sound neutral, I guess. So they did a
right.
really good job at just like building the environmental sounds and the way things fade in and fade out. Because there's some games that they add quality sounds to, but they don't dial them correctly. So it's just an overwhelming chirping or noise or this, that, or the other. But yeah,
Yeah,
dude, sound design is so good right now, and if they're going to continue to update it and work on it and tweak it, I'm excited for it because that just adds to that immersion so much more.
well, that's the thing. The environmental audio is fairly new. Tarkov went for years and years with no extra sounds. You had the wind, you had like the rain, you had some
Yeah,
thunderstorms.
footsteps,
But yeah, now, you have dogs barking off in the distance. You hear like, different kinds of insects, and like that's all
different
stuff that
critters in
was
general.
never,
Yeah,
yeah, that was never in the game till recent. But away from that, I was scrolling through Twitter and I just seen a couple things that I forgot. Um, this goes back to the Labyrinth event. Um, Basically, I don't know if we talked about it last week. I don't know if we mentioned it, but for those people who didn't have Lightkeeper, they made it easier to get Lightkeeper through the Labyrinth.
oh
Um,
yeah. Once you finish the main task line for Labyrinth, you get the knock knock task, correct?
Right, right. You
Yeah,
instantly just get access to Lightkeeper. Well, not instant. You get access to the task line to unlock Lightkeeper,
right.
which makes it way easier for a
Fast
lot of
tracks
people who
you,
just
yeah,
had
by
not
a
even
lot.
tried. Yeah, if you hadn't even, you skip over a lot of stuff that normally you would have had to have done
Well, I was gonna
because there was a
say
lot of stuff
even
leading up to Lightkeeper.
yeah, even when we decided to go for Lightkeeper because we got paused, or we were working on Lightkeeper. We decided, sorry, we were working on leveling, and then we decided to go work on Lightkeeper. And
Yeah,
even when we went and we're like, okay, what tasks do we need to do? While we had done a pretty decent chunk of them just by playing the game, we had skipped over so many that you had to go
yeah.
back and like just redo, or not redo, but do for the first time. And just like, so yeah, yeah, it's saving
But
so many hours just getting the knock
yeah,
knock task.
so that was just a cool thing that they just threw in there to, not only make it easier for people to get the Lightkeeper, but it also gives you an ability to get the achievement for doing all the uh, task line, not only for the Labyrinth, but all the side quests.
Yeah, there's Dungeon
Because a lot of
Master
people
and
would
then
have
In
no,
Search of an
yeah, they would
Exit.
have no
Yeah,
access to that if they didn't have Lightkeeper. So now they have a way.
yeah. Well,
And then
doing the
also,
Dungeon Master one gives you the hideout customization for the Minotaur's lair for
yeah,
the floor, ceilings, and walls. So that's really cool stuff
yeah.
too.
But then also Nikita on April 2nd had posted what looks like a inside look of a missile silo, like the one on reserve.
Yeah, like as you're on your way to
And
D2.
right, people are a lot of people are guessing that this is possibly another entrance into the labyrinth, or maybe a new labyrinth, or even just a new area, or just a connection, maybe some underground uh, ways to, I think someone had said it would be cool if it was like a transition, like you have a transition, underground transition area, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Just there's definitely something here. He definitely posted it for some reason.
right,
And
absolutely. Yeah, that 100% is the D2 area.
yeah, yeah.
I can see the
Um,
stairs going up into the door on the right. Yeah. I mean, obviously it's the I well, you know what? I don't want to say that 100%. I don't want to, be that guy, but it also
right, because
very
they
well
they
could
could
be
add
an
a whole new
expansion
area.
too. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
very similar situation there. Or very
Or
similar
it could
layout because it's on reserve and it's just an expansion to reserve.
it could have something to do with the uh, missile, with the nuke.
That's true too.
Like
That is very true.
that's where you would fire it from. And also, I guess there was something else that I seen someone talking about. It was Airwing was talking about, like underneath this, like the machinery it takes to dig one of those out,
Yeah.
like somehow BSG had actually got like all the dimensions just right because there's only like a certain, like they went very deep on their design and made it exactly how it would have to be in real life. Like it just one of those attention to detail things that only certain people would recognize. It's just kind of cool hearing that that they went that far into making sure it actually
Yeah.
fits what it would have to fit in real life to actually work.
It's
Um,
crazy. Yeah, that's cool.
yeah,
But that's
and then
you grow to almost expect that attention to detail from BSG. Like if anybody's gonna do it, they're the ones.
right, right, yeah, yeah. It's still, it
Very
still catches
impressive.
me off guard though.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
yeah.
it's like nobody else does that
Well,
really.
yeah, and just because
Um,
you expect it doesn't mean you're like genuinely expecting the scale at which they do it, right?
right.
Like you
Yeah,
expect
something like
accuracy
that.
from
That
BSG, but they go above and beyond. Like they always go
well,
that
and it's
extra
like
mile.
who would even know all that? You know what I mean? Like that's it's
Right.
just stuff like I get it. They have a lot of military experience. They have some people there that were in the military. Technically, some Spetsnaz operators are even in the dev team, but it's still stuff that most people have no clue about and have no like real world information on.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
It's very
and
niche.
even if they do, a lot of game devs will cut corners and take shortcuts when they're putting something in a game. They'll make it look cool, but normally it doesn't line up with actual reality.
Right.
BSG
Yeah. Yeah.
100% does not do that. They make sure everything is like it would be in real life. Like they do better at that than anybody I've really ever played a game of.
Yeah.
Um, and then he posted a picture. I don't know what this means. It's just a dude sitting outside in the snow with a
Yeah.
scav outfit on, looking at a computer with a telephone beside him. He's got an old like gateway PC with a old an old phone and mouse and a picture and yeah, I don't know what that's about.
Definitely an interesting one. Makes you
Yeah,
wonder
one of those pictures. It's just
what's
like,
going on over there. Yeah.
yeah,
Like,
what was this? What was this?
so ahead of everything, Johnny on the spot, ready to rock and roll, constantly just like quick with updates. They're on top of it. And then there's this. It's just like okay. Yeah, there's it's a random picture. He's sitting outside chilling, like hope he's enjoying his time. Looks like he is. He's got a nice drink there.
Yeah, looks peaceful.
He's got a sweet phone.
Yeah. And then I think they posted a tease for the battle pass. I assume that's what this is. He's got a little animated video that has this thing, and then it
It
says
says
soon, and then it
soon.
says arena.
Yeah. Yeah, I was wondering about that too.
I assume it has something to do with the launch on Epic Games and the battle pass.
That's kind of what I was figuring. This animation is pretty cool. I have no idea what it is, but it looks dope. Maybe a Terra Group logo of some sort. But yeah, that's
Possibly. And just for anybody out there who hasn't heard it, I'll say it again. Nikita did also confirm on that podcast Escape from Tarkov and Escape from Tarkov Arena are both also coming to Steam.
yeah,
Um,
just
Ep-
not
yeah, Epic
yeah.
Games has they have the deal with them right now to launch on Epic Games first.
And most of
But
the time that
after
lasts for
that,
about a year.
yeah, usually it's a year deal that Epic does with other games, and they'll have exclusivity for 1 year, and then Steam will have it. So
Yep.
all the people who, if there are any out there who've been waiting for Steam to get it to play it, it is going to come, and you will have your opportunity, but it'll
Yep.
still be a while.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that sums things up pretty well. I think we've covered the little bit of news that was this week and wrapped up in it
Yeah,
with
yeah,
got to, have a pretty good
that's
conversation that's been kind of looming around for a while, so that was nice.
yeah,
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode of Talking Tarkov, consider subscribing to the channel. It helps us out a lot. Be sure to like and comment below what you do when you're starting to feel bored with Tarkov. We'll catch you next week. See ya.